My AC unit just went really loud. I just switched it on because it's getting a little bit warm here, but geez. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. I hope you're all doing well. It is time for a new month for me because, as I've said numerous times before, I go mid-month to mid-month, but it's about mid-month for the rest of you. So how are you all doing? If you are budgeting, how is your month going? I hope it's been successful. We're going to talk a little bit today about the new budget coming. I'm going to show you my numbers, and I just want to chat to you a little bit about credit scores. Actually, I had a little bit of a surprise with mine this month, so I thought we'd talk about it. So for a long time, I didn't check my credit score because I had no reason to. One of the things with me living out here is that my rent is included within my benefits, so I don't have to privately rent from anyone, so there's no reason for them to do a credit check on me. And I don't own a car, I don't have a mortgage in the UK, I don't have any personal loans. Like, there's no reason for me to need a credit check for any of these things. And I just spent quite a lot of time paying off my credit card that I have, and I've had that credit card since I was about 18, so I'm not applying for any new credit. So when I was getting a bit more serious about paying off my credit card, I didn't bother checking my credit score because, quite frankly, what was the point? I needed to pay off the credit card. It was the only thing I needed to do, and it made sense just keep paying that off, and then we'll see where we are. Oh my Lord. I have a glass balcony sliding door. An enormous bug just flew. I was like, oh God, please let that door be closed. It was, we're okay. Jesus, I'm never leaving the house again. I don't know if it was a wasp or what it was, but it was about this big. I seem to be very easily distracted today. I do apologize. Anyway, back to my point. I was paying off the credit card. I didn't think to check my credit score, and even if I had, there would have been no point because I was doing everything I needed to do. So once I got here in August, I was looking at kind of my future financial plans. I knew that aside from the thing that the school was repaying me, that my credit cards were clear. So I really wanted to know where I was and how to move forward. Now, I checked my credit score, and predictably, because it takes 4 to 6 weeks for it to update, my credit score was pretty low because my utilization of my credit cards had been so high. But there was one thing on there that really surprised me. So the thing is, with my credit cards, I ran up my credit cards, I spent too much money. But other than that, I don't mess around with my money. I make my payments. Crucially, I make my payments. I always do. I'd never missed one. So I was really shocked. In your credit score at the bottom, it has, detrimental points against you of things you might have done that won't be so great. If you haven't kept up with your score, if you've missed payments on things, if you've got a mortgage and you've got a CCJ against you, or I don't know if that's universal to the US or not. But if you've got anything to do with your financial life that's against you, either through the courts or if you've got bankruptcies or anything like that, obviously it shows up on your credit report. I wasn't expecting to see anything because I don't have any of those things, except when I looked, it said I had a missed payment, which meant that I had an account in default because this payment was never paid, and I was really shocked by it. So basically, when I did my master's degree, I went and lived in Wales for the academic year because that's where my university was. And while I was there, I had Virgin as my internet provider. So they did my internet. I think I might have had a TV. I had a package with them. It was £46 a month. Now I remember very clearly when I left that apartment, I called them and I cancelled it. I was finishing the contract and I let them know that I was moving and I wasn't going to continue it. Because it was the final month of my contract, and they were like, yeah, fine, no problem, and we all finished it off. But the thing is, a week after I moved out of that apartment, I moved to China. I had a job in Beijing. So I left the country, I changed address, which I obviously didn't inform them of because I was leaving the country and I was done with the contract, and my phone was inaccessible. Now, I did do a quick search on my email after I realized that this was coming up, and I couldn't find any information on my email, so I don't know if I maybe deleted it, but I just didn't have the information. So on my credit score, it says that I missed a payment, and then I must have missed it 3 months in a row because they were waiting on this payment to be paid. And so I had £46. it's nothing. I would have paid it straight away. And as I say, I've never had this problem before. So I had an account in default on my credit score, which is obviously weighing it down. And I didn't know what to do about it because I didn't discover this until last year, which was about 5 years after the fact. So I looked through my email, couldn't find the contact details. I was already here, so it wasn't like I could call Virgin International or anything. They have, I think, like a number in the UK, but it's not accessible from abroad. And I didn't have any account details or anything, so I didn't know what to tell them. Like, hi, about 5 years ago I missed a payment, don't have any information for you, could you fix it? Like, it wasn't worth the argument because I was sure that I'd paid everything I was supposed to pay. I thought that it was a mistake, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna argue with them now, and I've got no way to contact them. I'll just wait till it drops off my credit report. Now, after the fact, I've actually gone back, because this has irritated me so much, I'd actually gone back and I counted how many payments I'd paid them according to my credit score. And I think what happened is the final payment, because I called them right as I was paying the previous month because it reminded me to call them, I think I misjudged, and the final payment on my account that I thought I'd paid, maybe I hadn't, maybe I'd mixed it up because I'd made a recent payment. I think it was probably my fault, but for a long time I didn't think that. So I left it and I was like, well, I can't fix it. It's not worth arguing about because I don't have all the information, and I'll just wait for it to drop off. Because at this point it's been 5 years, it drops off after like 6 or 7, whatever. It is what it is, it sucks. Then a couple of months ago, I get an email. So they obviously have my email. I must have received emails at some point, or maybe I didn't. It was all just a mess, who knows? And at first, I don't recognize the company and I just delete it because I think it's spam. You know, you get thousands of emails like that a month. But because it popped up in my notifications, and I was in the middle of doing something, I didn't go in and block the the email, thank goodness. Because the next day I got another email from the same name, and I was like, oh, have I been put on a list? But then I noticed that it had my full name on it, like first, middle, last. And that's usually the number one way you can tell something is spam, when it doesn't have your full name or it just has like dear customer or whatever. But this did, and it was weird enough that it made me open up the email. So I went in, and apparently Virgin had sold my £46 debt to a collection agency. And I was like, oh God, because I've got no experience of doing this, but collection agency seems bad. You know, if I'd had a better way to contact them at any point, I would have just fixed it, but whatever. So they sent me this email and I just paid it off straight away, which is good because now it's off my mind. And it means that they can close the account. And I didn't initially think they would be able to close the account because on my credit score report thing, there's a little asterisk at the bottom where it says like, okay, if, you know, be aware that basically defaults can really impact your score, because it has like a little more information dot on each detrimental thing. And it says, you know, they can impact your score and it may not fully recover even if you pay it off. And so I was like, oh, it's not even going to make a difference. I was wrong. So all of this went on. And then it takes 4 to 6 weeks for the credit score to update. And then last week, I get an email from them, which is very exciting, from ClearScore, which is the app I use, saying, oh, the future looks bright. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And I went in and my credit score has gone up by 107 points because they cleared that account off my records. I was like, oh, good. So it's up at like, it's 844 now, which I think is good. I don't know how I would get it higher though. So it's out of 1,000, but I don't have anything else on there that I can improve because I've paid off my credit card and now I fixed that. And that was all I had on there. And then I've just got my regular, you know, it lists your accounts and I'm not in arrears with any of those. So I guess this will be probably my final score. But it was really nice to see it jump up and I was shocked, like how badly it impacted it for £46. But it does say, you know, it doesn't matter if the debt's small or big, the point is you missed it and that your account is in default. So I guess that really does make a much bigger difference than I saw, but I'm really pleased it's fixed now, which is good. So anyway, that was a stupid mistake I made 5 years ago that came back to haunt me, and I'm glad it's now out of the way. I think it's probably the first time in the world people have been happy to see a collections link, because it meant I at least had a method to pay it. Because when I first read it, I felt terrible. I was like, sorry, what? What's this? And like I said, I didn't have a history of that, so it was really shocking. Anyway, that was my news for this week. I'm very pleased. My credit score is up. I think that's probably where it's going to settle, assuming I don't do anything stupid. How do you get it up, those final, 150 points? What do you do? Because if everything on your credit score is now clear, and I've been pretty consistent, is it just consistency and it builds over time? Like everything else is done that they suggest? Please put in the comments down below. I don't know. I did a quick Google. I didn't research it very hard, but if you've got the information, lovely community, I would love to hear it. So anyway, with this fresh and shiny new score behind me, let's look into this month's budget. Okay, everybody, so here we are with the budget. This is my February to March, as I previously said. Now, my income was very slightly different this month for 2 reasons. Number one, I put some of the rollover towards the elliptical bike I had planned to buy, which I discussed in my closeout. So that was about 30 Rial. And number two, I did get a small refund into my salary this month because they give us an allowance for our water, and then they calculate it yearly, and the difference between what you spend and what they allow you, you either get a refund on or you pay the difference. So I didn't use as much, and I actually got a refund on that of about 18 Rial, 1842, as you can see here, which gave me a slightly higher total monthly income and meant that I sent home 974 Omani Rial and 42, what's it called? Beza, I believe. So the monthly spending additional you can see there of 50 is the elliptical bike. Now, if we get into local section, not a lot has changed here except my electricity. I had a bit more left because I wasn't using the AC as much. So I'm just changing that to 5. I don't need more, although it is getting warm again now, guys. I can feel it coming. I'm so sad. The winter is over. It's getting warmer every day. So the other variable expenses like groceries, transport, school, beauty, health, that kind of thing are not changing, or the set amounts for them are not changing. However, next month, depending, I might end up reducing my transport again, simply because a friend of mine has a car now, and generally if he goes grocery shopping, he'll invite me along, and that saves me a little bit of money. Gas is extremely cheap here. It's controlled by the government, so it doesn't get very expensive at all. I think it's something like 40 something pence a litre, so he's not worried too much about that, although I do offer to contribute, but I probably won't need as much. However, we will see until next month just how that goes. One thing not listed on here is the elliptical, because it was an extra cost this month, but I did also take out that money locally. So that left me with this. My projected when I was building this budget was that my salary would be 1900 sent home, because I was initially thinking I would have to pay a lot more for the elliptical. However, because I found it secondhand, I didn't end up needing to do that, because originally I thought I was going to have to pay like 150 or so. My additional income is YouTube. I did earn a bit more this month, so I'm expecting a higher payment. So I've gone ahead and put the actual amounts in because I sent this money home yesterday, and because I can see what's coming for YouTube. So my salary sent home ended up being 2,034. My additional income from YouTube is going to be around 1,088. There have been a couple of changes with that, but I think it's settled now, which should give me a total of 3,166, which is a little bit higher than I was expecting, so that's nice. Now, these things didn't change hugely. My investments are auto-drafted, so they come out at 150, and I ended up putting 300 into my emergency fund to be able to round the balance up to 2,000 instead of the 250 I had planned. My other spending, I mentioned this in my last month, but I'd made an order for some clothes from the UK and I put it on my card to keep payments coming through that card to show my reliability. I paid that off with my paycheck this month, so 145 came out of other spending. But because I earned more this month, I'm really not worried about it, but it means the credit card is clear again, which is nice. So that was a total of $595. In my account too, you will see that my reading magazine app has been cancelled as promised, which was a nice feeling because I'll just re-sign up if I miss it that much. But my usual Spotify came out, my YouTube came out. You'll notice I don't have anything on national insurance contribution right now. I do believe that I'm going to do more than $250 because I have that extra money coming in. It's probably going to be $500. But because it's coming out of the YouTube money, I haven't taken it out yet. I'll do it when I get it, and I might end up making extra payments. I haven't decided yet, but I'll discuss it with you at the end. My pension money of $833 went out as normal. Over on my sinking funds, we've got tax. Because I earned a bit more money this month, I am putting an extra $100 in tax this time, just to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on it and I'm giving a reasonable amount. Travel has not been filled yet because that's going to come from YouTube. And again, because I got some extra, I think instead of $300, I'm going to put $500 in. Home and tech medical already funded. Gifts and Christmas got the $45 I intended, and hair got the $15 I intended. So what I have now with these two that I haven't done yet, the national insurance contribution and the travel, I actually had a bit more money in my account than I was anticipating. Just in the slush, I had about 600 in there, and then I'm getting an extra 1,000. So I might leave a bit in slush, like 300, but that leaves me with 1,300 that I can put into this budget this month. And I'm thinking of splitting it between travel and national insurance. So maybe they get half each, or I might put an extra couple of hundred in tax just to make sure I'm covered. Or I have the option of potentially going in down here because like the hair sinking fund, for example, is quite low. I could just fund it and then not have to worry about it in the future. So those are my options right now. I think tax definitely, I gave an extra 100, but I might give another 100. But what would you do with the rest of the money? Do you think I should put it towards my national insurance contributions? I'll definitely put some, but should I put it all there, or should I split it up down here? If I put it into national insurance, I will not I won't pay it off. Like I've got to do that for the rest of the year, but I'll be able to get more of it paid down in this tax year because the end of the tax year is coming up. So that would be an advantage. But if I bring it down here and I put it into travel, I don't have to worry about being short there. And if I pay off the sinking funds, it's just one less minimum payment a month, which is a good thing. So I can't quite decide which one is going to be better, but do put your opinions down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Let me know how your budget is going down below, if you do in fact budget as well. Are you having a successful month? Have there been any exciting changes for you? I would love to hear it. Okay, thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.